The heart of any eFoil is its battery. In this chapter of Ride Safe, we're gonna dive into all the intricacies of your Flite Cell. We're gonna go over how to manage your battery, how to maintain your battery, and also how to charge your battery. So let's dive into the chapter. Let's go. So here's our Flite Cell. Flite cells contain 21700 battery cells, which are the safest batteries on the market. They're used in the hypercar and many other applications. Also, these have phase changing cells, which means if one cell ignites, it's going to prevent any trailing into other cells, making it one of the safest batteries in the world. In order to activate your battery, this magnet is required. You can use any household magnet or the bottom of your flight controller. All you have to do to engage the battery is take your magnet, and right in this little space here, you'll see a lightning bolt. You just touch the battery there for about 3 seconds, and you're gonna notice the LED lights will flash and turn on top of the battery. 3 green lights means you're at around 85 to 100%. 2 green lights means you're around 70 to 40%. Anything below that's gonna show 1 green or potentially 1 red if you're really low. If you see 1 red and 1 green, there's an error reporting. So best thing to do is just let the battery shut off and restart the battery. If you're continuing to have these issues, always reach out to your service center or contact us and we can help you out. Now we have the Flite Cell here. This is the Flite Cell Nano. It's got a power and a negative port. We also have a data cable, which we no longer use with the Series 2 and Series 3, but it's there for diagnostics. On the side of the Flite Cell, we have a sight glass. This sight glass lets us know if there's any water intrusion into the battery. If you do have water intrusion, basically it's gonna turn red. On the other side, we have the Flite Cell cap. So if we do have water in here, we can tilt Flite Cell on its side and eventually drain that water out. Now, I recommend reaching out to your Fliteboard service center or Fliteboard if there is any water inside your Flite Cell. Now that we have our Flite Cell here, it's time to charge it. So what we're gonna do is remove these red caps. And before we get into the red caps, let me let you know a little trick of mine. It's called the red cap trick. If you're a scuba diver, you might know of this. So basically, I put these red caps on when we're fully charged, and as soon as I use these, I remove them and I set them aside. Now I know if my battery is charged or not without activating the lights. So good little tip to have when you're out there riding. So now we're gonna go into the charge. So we have our orange, which is our power, and our black, which is our negative. Just like a car battery, we're gonna simply install the power first. And you're gonna hear that nice click, and then we're gonna install the negative. Once you hear that nice click, we are plugged in. Now to engage the charger, we're gonna take a magnet. Now you can use any household magnet, the flight magnet that comes with your kit, or the bottom of your flight controller. So what we wanna do is we're gonna take the magnet and we're gonna set it right on that little electric logo on the battery. You're gonna notice 3 green lights activate on the Flite Cell. This means you're charging. You're also gonna see the battery charger click on, and you're gonna get a little orange lightning bolt letting you know that you're actively charging. Eventually, when it stops charging, the lightning bolt will go away and you'll see a steady blue light. Now to charge your flight controller. Simply peel back the flight controller cap. This is gonna expose the magnet charge port. Now we can use the wall adapter to charge, or we can simply take the USB and plug it into our charger. So if you lift this little cap here, we can plug in our USB, and we can take the magnet, put it right on your controller, and you'll notice your flight controller is now charging. And we can set that aside, let it charge to 100% while we're charging your battery. Now to extend your battery life, if you're gonna leave for a long time, maybe 3 to 4 months, I highly recommend leaving the charge state around 40%. This is gonna protect the lithium cells from any kind of damage. In this chapter of Ride Safe, I'm gonna help you install your battery properly and safely. But before we install this battery, you have to know that this board does weigh about 30 pounds. We wanna make sure that your board is sitting on a nice soft surface so you can use a yoga mat, your board bag, but you don't wanna put the nose and the wings
on the rocks or anything like that. If you have wing covers, great, put those on. Those will definitely help. So now that we have our board, we've got our battery. We're gonna take the battery out of its bag. All right, now that we have our battery, we have to remove the cap covers. So we'll take off these cap covers, toss them back in the bag. All right, so on our battery, we've got two terminals. We've got a positive and a negative. Those are gonna connect inside of our board. So we're gonna pop these latches. We're gonna set this battery in, but before we do so, we need to put this at a low angle. If you come in at a high angle, what can happen is this seal right here can actually lift up when we set the battery in. So what I wanna do is I'm gonna pull these cables out of the way, kind of pull it high on the battery box, and we're just gonna slide it in at a lower angle. It should just sit right in there, nice and easy. Now we're gonna take our two red cables. We have our red cable to our red socket here. That's gonna be our positive. Just like a car battery, we always do positive first. So we're gonna basically set this in. You're gonna hear a nice click. Then we're gonna do our negative cable, which is our black cable. So we'll just put that right over the socket, push it in till it clicks. Now we know our battery's connected. Now there is a little battery latch here. That battery latch, what it does is when you put your board into the water and you flip it upside down, it's gonna float, but it stops the battery from falling onto the door and allowing any water to ingress into the board. So once we make sure that battery latch is taut, we will then close the door, seal up the latches, and wait for that nice sound to go on. Now that we have the board on, it's time to pair the controller. Now that we have our Flite Cell installed and hooked up, it's time to pair the controller to the flight board. I want to show you a little secret that we found out after giving tons of lessons. So right now, my controller is already paired. As you can tell, we just did a motor test. So what I'm going to do is unpair my eFoil to the controller. The way we do this is we just hold the bottom of the controller where this little circle is, and we just hold it to the target in between the two cables. What this is going to do, it's going to disconnect the controller from the ESC. You notice the orange scrolling lights? That shows that we're unpaired from our eFoil and our controller's free to go. So now we're gonna pair it. So we're gonna close the door, and that's gonna make our eFoil turn back on. But you're gonna notice that the orange lights are gonna scroll. So we've got scrolling lights. That's showing that the eFoil is unpaired. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pair the controller. We're gonna put the controller into pairing mode. All I have to do is hold that plus button for 7 seconds. Controller should beep when it's ready. Now I'm gonna hit the mode button to commence the pairing. And now we're paired. It's the simplest way to pair your eFoil. You don't have to put the controller between the cables or to the battery on this, all that stuff. All you have to do is put the board into pairing mode and your controller at the same time, and you can do it from 20 feet away.